What's going on, guys? Welcome back. It's Hal. Today we're going to be talking about some of the more underappreciated 4-star units that might help you guys who are newer to the game or just getting your feet wet into the higher end FFBE content. Maybe you're trying to do elite trials. Maybe you're trying to do some of the raid bosses and stuff like that. So we're taking a look at strictly 4-star bases that aren't time limited today, and how they can really help your team in the most important areas of the game, which is going to be breaks and buffs and supportive aspects to help you along the way. You can always get damage from a strong friend unit or such other things like that. So let's start off today. Let's going to start off with an old faithful, Soleil. So Soleil is a very strong unit, very easy to use as well. She's pretty self-explanatory. So what she does after you enhance her, you're going to want to enhance her. So go ahead and get your power crysts, all those different awakening materials from the story events like we have going on right now with Elephim, if you're currently watching this video during her banner. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to enhance 2 of her dances. All right, that's all you're really going to need to do. You can enhance Endless Turn as well. But what you're going to be able to do with her enhance is you're going to cast like one of her dances. All right, so short dance +2 here says, if used after cannon dance, panzer dance, or shooting dance, increase your attack and magic by 120% for 2 turns to all allies with a 35% defense break. So if you enhance short dance and you go down and enhance panzer dance +2 down here, panzer dance right away will increase your whole party's defense by 100%, and then you can go ahead and do short dance after that, and you'll get 120% attack and magic buff, and you go down and use panzer dance again after that, and you get 120% defense and spirit buff, and you'll get a nice 35% attack break, 35% defense break, whichever one you so choose. You don't have to do short and panzer. You can do cannon dance and shooting dance. You want an offensive dance and a defensive dance. What I mean by that is each of the dances, like short, 100% attack buff, and then, for instance, panzer dance down here, 100% defense buff. Shooting dance is 100% spirit buff, and cannon dance 100% magic buff. So you can do like cannon shooting, cannon panzer, short shooting, short panzer. Each of those, whatever one you want. You can do them all if you want. That way, in certain fights, you can buff your spirit by 100% and then buff your spirit and your defense by 120% afterwards. So you can go ahead and do that. And that's going to be a very strong buffer for your team with a little bit of breaks as well. 35% nowadays during the 7-star era is really low. But if you're just starting out, you get some strong buffs if you don't have a buffer, and some strong breaks as well. So that's going to be Soleil for some of the 4 stars that you should be using. Now, the next one we're going to talk about is Melia Dual. Melia Dual is a very nice support character. She has enhancements. Another reason you're going to want to use her is because of those enhancements. So what she does, she's got a couple of things that are very strong here. So she's got some breaks, 40% a magic spirit. Not really what we're talking about. We don't really care about that unenhanced version there. She's got a 45% defense spirit break, also not very strong either. She does have this skill right here, Chantage, auto revive 80% HP for 3 turns to 1 ally. So she does come with auto revive, which is a very rare skill on most units, usually restricted to 5-star bases to be able to just cast an auto revive. So she has it at 4-star base. That's going to help your tank live and always be up and ready to cover or provoke. So that's going to be a big plus for you there. She also has Breach. She can give a nice 100% magic buff for 3 turns to a single ally. So if you bring in like a strong friend unit that is a mage, you can give them a nice 100% magic buff, although that one isn't going to be the reason that you're going to bring Melia Dual. So after she gets enhanced, her breaks actually go up to 50%, and we have Crush Armor, which is a 50% defense and spirit break, and we have Crush Weapon, which is a 50% attack and magic break. So pretty awesome there. And then if you don't have another buffer on your team, you can use Heaven's Blessing +2 as well, which is an 80% defense and spirit break for 5 turns to 1 ally. So put this on your tank. It mitigates damage that they take by 15% for 5 turns as well. So it's going to help your tank survive there. And then also gives them a nice HP regen. You can also enhance her auto revive to be a full heal upon death. It'll come back to life with full HP, and it can last up to 5 turns. So that one, not that big of a deal. I would leave that one unenhanced. So breaks in this game are absolutely the most important thing to do. If you're a newer player, a 50% break will reduce your damage by way more than 50% less. So it's going to be something you absolutely need to have on your team. First and foremost, strong breaks will make the game much more easier than you could have ever have imagined, guys. So speaking about breaks, we're going to go over Desh real quick and maximizing your damage early on. So Desh, pretty decent. He's got a couple utilities that make him pretty good. He's going to be like an offensive version of Melia Dual. So Desh has a couple cool things. He's got anti-attack spirit, anti-defense magic, anti-attack defense, and anti-magic spirit. And these are all spark skills. That's just the name of them. But they're all 45% breaks, and they're all broken up to a 45% attack spirit break, or a 45% defense magic break, or a magic spirit break, or an attack defense break. So he's always breaking an offensive stat and a defensive stat. Not always the best thing to have on a unit. Usually you want like an attack and magic break, so your team takes less damage from all types of attacks, or defense and spirit break, so your team does more damage with all types of attacks. Having an attack and spirit break doesn't really allow you to do that, but it is part of his kit, and it is something really good. We're going to be talking about Lucky Strike, though, and Thunder Guide once enhanced. And he also does have the all-important Entrust. Use your own limit burst gauge to fill an ally's gauge. Super important skill that you can have access to on Desh as well. So once you have him enhanced, Lucky Strike +2 has a 95% chance to add lightning elemental attacks to an ally on your team, and a 5% chance to hit your ally for 50% of their HP. Now, this is going to be very important because when you're starting out, you might not have all of the different elemental weapons in the game. You might have any elemental weapons whatsoever, or you might not have an elemental weapon that matches an imperil that you can put on an enemy. So imperils are very important. They reduce the enemy's resistance to a certain element on your team. So you have Lucky Strike to add lightning element to anyone's physical attacks or hybrid attacks for 3 turns. Now, if you have Thunder Guide +2 as well, you can do a little bit of damage, physical damage, 3.5 times multiplier, not that big of a deal, but it also has a 75% lightning resistance imperil for 5 turns. So if Desh is on your team, not only can he break for you a little bit, right, you can reduce the attack defense magic spirit by 45%. He can also just buff someone's damage if they were using a non-elemental weapon by up to 75%, which is absolutely huge. So you can have Desh on your team, a little bit of break support, and then maximize someone's damage if you're using non-elemental weapons. Super awesome there. And then Entrust is going to be very important. What Entrust does is allows Desh to give his limit burst gauge to someone else on your team. So if you're just starting out and you're using Desh, and you're bringing like a very strong friend carry unit who is going to be doing all your damage, they have a very strong limit burst, you can give Desh's limit burst gauge to your friend unit, assuming they are your friend, and just have them fire the limit burst off over and over and over. And since Desh's limit burst costs very, very few limit burst crystals, you'll be able to do this repeatedly and just have that carry unit just destroy wave after wave after wave of monsters there. Okay, with that being said, we're going to move away from imperils and breaks and buffs. We're going to go into a nice healer that you can use as you're traversing through FFB, and that's going to be Rosa. Rosa's got a couple of great upsides on her. She's a 4-star base. She goes up to 6-star max, and she can not only heal your team, but she can keep you going through long battles, and she can heal your friends, your strong 7-star friends that you might be bringing to do content with you pretty effectively. Because her heals, her big ones, are based off of your maximum HP and not how much she can actually heal based on her own stats. And she goes pretty well with Desh's Entrust. So let's go look at Rosa real quick. Her base skills aren't the greatest thing. She has Miracle, which can heal a little bit of HP, and then it has a 50-50 shot of removing defense and spirit breaks or curing all status ailments. If you really need to cure all status ailments, you're not going to want to use this. You don't want to flip a coin to see if you can remove your Petrify, remove your Paralyze. You don't want to go ahead and do that. Instead, you'll just use the traditional white magic she has. She has Asunaga, and then the ability to remove attack, defense, magic, and spirit breaks from single targets whenever you want to. She also has Dispel Good, remove all buffs off of all your enemies. So she's got a very nice supportive healing kit within her own 4-star base self. And then she also has Full Life, which is going to be very strong if someone dies. 100% HP restoration to one ally. She does not have dual cast white magic, but as you traverse through the game, you'll be able to take on a boss that gives you a staff that just natively gives you dual cast white magic. That'll help her out quite a bit more. Now, her ability awakenings here, Bless +2 is awesome, and it sets her apart from a lot of the other early white mages you can use. Bless +2 gives you HP and MP over time. So being able to have MP over time on your healer for your whole party is absolutely stellar. It's going to be it's gonna be great. A 20 flat MP with a 0.4 healing modifier, so you want to stack as much spirit as you can on Rosa, but make her, make her survivable. But stack some spirit on her. That way your friend unit and your Rosa and your tanks and your supports and everything else will just keep having MP over time. And it gives a very strong HP heal over time as well. And then the last thing that she does have, and what makes her pretty good with Dash, is Miracle of Baron, which is her limit burst. So if you have it level 1, you don't even need to level this up that much. At level 1, it's going to heal 76% of your maximum HP and 20% of your maximum MP to all of your allies. So this is going to help her fire off this LB, restore your friends' HP to full if they're a strong 7-star, restore your tank, restore everyone on your team's HP. It only costs 20 limit burst crystals. It's pretty cheap, and if you are using some sort of entrusting unit like Dash on your team, you can fire off Miracle of Baron, entrust her, fire off Miracle Baron again, maybe break and put up her HP MP regen, and then fire off Miracle Baron, and then get entrusted and fire off Miracle Baron. It's a very strong combination of skills to use on 4-star bases. And then last but not least, we have to mention her. I'm going to bring up Riku. So Riku is like the grab bag, all-in-all support that a lot of people have been using for a long time in Final Fantasy Brave Exvius. She kind of fell, to the wayside once some of the stronger 5-stars came out. But if you don't have those 5-stars, you might want to look at using a Riku if you do have it. So the thing that sets Riku apart from a lot of the other characters is her raw utility and what she can do for your party. So she has All Bad Potion, small HP heal, and then removes Poison, Silence, and Petrify. So remember that she can remove Petrify if she's in your party. She has Tidal Wave, not the greatest thing ever, but the skill that you want to be thinking about the most when you're using Riku is Mix. So you have to take a turn off to use Mix and enable skills for 4 turns to the caster. It gives you Sunburst, Hazardous Shell, and Hyper Null. All 3 are pretty important skills. Sunburst not so much, but the other 2 are pretty important skills in her kit. And then last but not least, she does have Mega Phoenix, which restores your whole team to full life. So you can revive 2, 3 dead characters to full life for 70 MP. It is pretty costly, but your support being able to do, a full life on your whole party is insanely strong. She also comes with Drive Boost as a passive, which increases her limit burst gauge fill rate by 100%. So it's going to help her get her limit burst off, and her limit burst is absolutely insane, and one of the reasons why she's in your party. So it's going to help her get it twice as fast, basically. Now, her mixed skills right here, Sunburst, Hazardous Shell, and Hyper Null. Sunburst just does 19,998 damage to all enemies. It's almost always going to do that. You can affect it with killer effects, but you're almost never going to be using Sunburst. Maybe early on in the game, if you have Riku in your party and you just Sunburst enemies for 19,000 damage because you just started the game, you'll be able to just destroy everything right away. Hazardous Shell is physical damage, 1.8 times multiplier to all enemies. Then it puts 2 random status elements, usually Petrify, then one other status element. A lot of the later bosses you'll encounter will not be able to have status elements inflicted on them, but a lot of the bosses early on in the game, you can blind them, you can paralyze them, you can do a bunch of different stuff like that. So you can just cheese a lot of the early bosses with Hazardous Shell. And then once you get into harder bosses, she has Hyper Null, which increases your resistance to all elements in the game, fire, water, ice, thunder, all of that stuff, by 40% for 3 turns to all allies. Super awesome. And then mitigate damage taken by 30% for 3 turns to all allies as well. So that's going to be huge. Taking 30% less damage on your tank, on your supports, and your healers, absolutely the thing that you want to do, especially if you don't have a lot of the more OP tanks in the game while you're working your way through content. You're definitely going to want her in your party for this buff specifically. And then she also has Ultra Potion. If you upgrade her Mix with an enhancement, an Ability Awakening, she gets Ultra Potion after using Mix as well, which is a full heal to 1 ally. So she does a very strong healer support sort of dance as well. Now, her Ability Awakenings, Drive Boost, if you max it out, you get a little more attack, a little more MP, not that big of a deal. And then Tidal Wave allows you to chain with Flood units. So maybe if you have a strong 7-star friend who uses Flood, you can enhance Tidal Wave +2, and then they can chain together, and you can get up to ×4 more damage while chaining. That might be a thing that you want to be thinking about if you're using strong friend 7-star Flood users. And then last but not least is her Limit Burst. The Hyper Mighty G costs 16 Limit Burst crystals. Is absolutely insane. At level 1, it's going to give you a 50% defense and spirit bonus for 3 turns to all allies. Not the greatest thing ever, but the all-important thing that it does do, it gives auto revive for 3 turns to your entire party. So your whole party, if your party dies, they will die and then come back with 80% of their HP right away. So super awesome. Remember, she has High Tide, her limit burst failure rate plus 100%. Basically makes this cost 8 crystals in general. So it's extremely easy to get this off and just spam Hyper Mighty G, and just cheese a lot of the early bosses that way, guys. So hopefully some of you guys who are relatively newer to the game can take some of the information we went over today as far as these powerful 4-star characters, why they're strong, why they should be in your party. Not only use these ones, but maybe you'll get a stronger version of that character as a 5-star down the road, and you'll know why they're strong, and you'll know why they need to be in your party. If you want to see more stuff like that, go ahead and take a look at the Team Building Series playlist that I should have in the description for you guys. And remember, guys, FFBE is not really a sprint. It's more of a marathon. It's about building up over time. If you try to get everything right away, you're going to get really frustrated. So don't feel pressure to do every new trial boss when it comes out. Do stuff at your own pace, and I'll see you guys at the finish line. Take care, guys.